Welcome back to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into one of the most critical challenges facing European enterprises right now: AI governance and EU AI Act readiness heading into 2026. Sam, this is becoming less of a nice-to-have conversation and more of a survival question for a lot of organizations, isn't it?
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is the timeline compression. August 2026 isn't some distant milestone anymore. It's 18 months away for most organizations listening to this. The EU AI Act isn't just another regulation. It's fundamentally reshaping how enterprises architect, deploy, and operate AI systems. We're talking mandatory risk assessments, governance documentation, and actual liability exposure for non-compliance.
Let's ground this for our listeners. What does August 2026 actually mean in practical terms? What changes on that date that wasn't required before?
That's when full enforcement kicks in for high-risk AI systems. Think of it as 3 enforcement waves. August 2024 saw transparency obligations start for high-risk systems. August 2026 is when things get real. Mandatory risk assessments, governance documentation, conformity assessments. Then 2027 onwards, you've got Gen AI-specific requirements and strict liability provisions. The liability part is the game changer. If your AI system causes harm and you're non-compliant, you're financially exposed.
So this isn't just about ticking compliance boxes. There's actual financial and legal risk. How many enterprises are actually prepared for this? Do we have data?
The numbers are sobering. According to recent EY research, 68% of European enterprises don't have documented AI governance frameworks aligned with what the EU AI Act requires. Only 22%, less than a quarter, have completed formal AI risk assessments across their technology stack. For contact center AI, customer-facing chatbots, and workforce analytics platforms, the gap is even wider because these systems often fall into high-risk categories.
So if you're running customer service AI, you're essentially in mandatory compliance territory. That's a significant portion of European enterprises right there. Let's talk about the risk framework itself. The EU AI Act breaks AI into different categories, right?
Exactly 4 tiers. At the top, you've got prohibited AI, things like social credit systems, real-time facial recognition in public spaces, emotion recognition in schools and workplaces. These are just off-limits. Then high-risk systems, hiring AI, credit access decisions, law enforcement applications, biometric systems. These require extensive governance and audit trails. Below that, limited risk systems like chatbots and deepfake detection tools need transparency labeling, and minimal risk systems like traditional machine learning have the lightest touch requirements.
So most enterprise contact center AI falls into the high-risk bucket. That means governance isn't aspirational, it's legally mandatory. How do organizations even begin to assess where they stand?
That's where maturity models come in. We're seeing enterprises use 5-stage frameworks to honestly assess their readiness. Stage 1 is what we call ad hoc, AI initiatives scattered across teams, siloed, largely unmanaged. No centralized governance, inconsistent risk assessments. About 35% of mid-market European enterprises are still operating here. It's chaotic, but honest.
That's a third of the market still in foundational chaos. What does progression look like from there?
Stage 2 is repeatable. You've got basic policies. Risk assessments are initiated but incomplete. Some documentation and training programs are emerging. It's typically a 2 to 3 year transition phase. Stage 3 is managed. Formal governance frameworks are in place. Risk assessments are mandatory across the board. You have documented AI operating models, cross-functional governance committees. That takes about 18 to 24 months to achieve from stage 1 if you're systematic about it.
And then there are stages 4 and 5, I assume. Where does it go from managed?
Stage 4 is optimized. You've moved from reactive compliance to proactive compliance. You're anticipating regulatory changes, continuously monitoring risk posture, and your governance is almost institutional at that point. Stage 5 would be truly transformative, where AI governance drives innovation strategy, not just constrains it. But honestly, most enterprises haven't even reached Stage 3 yet, and we're 18 months from mandatory enforcement.
So there's a significant capability gap between where most organizations are and where they need to be. What's the path to getting there in that remaining time frame?
It requires a few things simultaneously. First, you need an honest maturity assessment, no rose-tinted self-evaluation. Second, you need to establish an AI governance architecture. That means defining roles and responsibilities, creating risk assessment protocols, setting up monitoring systems. Third, you need to document your operating model, how AI systems get approved, deployed, monitored, and audited. This isn't theoretical, it's the artifact regulators will scrutinize.
So if I'm a large European enterprise running multiple AI systems, where do I actually start? This sounds overwhelming.
Start by inventorying what you've actually got. Map every AI system in production: customer-facing chatbots, workforce analytics, hiring tools, credit decision support systems. Classify them against the EU's risk framework. You'll probably find that 60–70% fall into high-risk or limited-risk categories. Then prioritize your governance build-out around those high-impact systems. You can't boil the ocean, so be strategic about sequencing.
And in terms of governance architecture itself, what does that look like operationally? How do you actually embed this into how a company operates?
You need several structures: an AI governance committee, senior stakeholders from technology, compliance, legal, business lines. That committee sets policy and oversees risk. You need AI lead architects or equivalent roles who understand both technical and regulatory requirements. You need documented processes: how teams propose new AI initiatives, how they get risk assessed, what documentation is required, who approves deployment. And you need monitoring, ongoing tracking of model performance, bias, drift, any deviations from approved use cases.
This is actually a significant organizational change, not just a compliance project. It's touching how technology gets developed and deployed.
Exactly right. And that's why August 2026 shouldn't be viewed as a deadline. It should be viewed as a forcing function for organizational maturity. The enterprises that treat this as a governance and architecture challenge, not just a compliance checkbox, will come out ahead. They'll have better risk management, better model governance, better auditability. Their AI systems will actually be safer and more trustworthy.
That's the key insight, isn't it? Compliance and good governance are actually aligned here, not in tension. Before we wrap, what's the one thing you'd want organizations to do this quarter if they're behind?
Conduct that honest maturity assessment. Get an external perspective if you can. Map your AI systems. Understand which ones fall into high-risk categories under EU law. Then draft a governance roadmap with realistic timelines and resource allocation. You can't fix 18 months of inaction in 18 months, but you can make meaningful progress if you're decisive and focused.
Great insights, Sam. For listeners who want to dig deeper into maturity frameworks, governance architecture, and compliance pathways, the full article is on etherlink.ai. We've covered the regulatory landscape, the risk tiers, and the 5-stage maturity model. Thanks for joining us on EtherLink AI Insights. We'll be back next week with more on AI governance and enterprise readiness. Until then, stay ahead of the curve.